Will somebody come together, Lisa? So, which one would you guys like to start with?
In between.
The in between. First one comes first. Okay, so we need to cut this open. So I brought this lovely little chopping board and a knife. Now when cutting it, we want to cut it in such a way that we only go in about that far. And the reason for that is because we don't want to hurt any of the seeds inside, because you can actually cut them open very easily. Anybody want to have a go?
Sure.
C'est qui veut y aller? C'est qui veut essayer?
So cutting time. And now it's the moment of truth.
Le moment de vérité.
And we break it open and we actually cut right through about 10 lovely seeds.
On a coupé.
So worth a try.
C'est pour ça qu'il faut faire très attention avec le couteau.
Now normally you use a spoon,
D'habitude on utilise une cuillère,
but I didn't bring one.
mais j'en ai pas amené.
So I'm just going to use my fingers.
Donc je vais utiliser mes doigts,
I'm going to go in there.
comme faisaient les anciens.
You can see all the seeds coming out here.
Vous pouvez voir les graines qui viennent là. Can you show some already and some which is not right?
No problem.
Pas de problème.
There.
So you have these big fat ones, and then you have these really small.
On a cette grosse là et puis
See
on
the
a cette
thickness of these?
là.
You can see.
Tu as vu l'épaisseur de celle-là?
And the flat ones are like, and the color is different, and the flat ones usually can be this size as well, but they're more like paper. They're like this. And these ones are more like cardboard, the thickness. So we have our seeds.
Donc on a nos graines.
Now you can still eat this, of course,
Non,
you
vous
know,
pouvez encore manger ça
if I wash my hands, and I did. So
si j'ai lavé mes mains, mais je l'ai fait.
now the next thing we need to do is we need to add some water. So there's a jar of water over there.
La prochaine chose qu'on a à faire, c'est de rajouter de l'eau. On va rajouter de l'eau.
It's like a kitchen class, isn't it? And here's some I got earlier.
C'est pas les graines d'un côté et la chair de l'autre.
On mélange tout.
Avec la chair.
And now the next step is
Maintenant, la prochaine étape, c'est
try to loosen it up by hand
l'eau.
to separate.
les graines de la pulpe.
And in reality, we need a lot more water than what I just put in. It would be nicer actually if it's kind of half full.
En vérité, on a besoin de beaucoup plus de ça. Ce serait bien si ça a le niveau beaucoup plus là.
We can use this amount for the tomato in a minute.
On va pouvoir utiliser ça pour les tomates.
So would you go and get some water? Thank you very much.
Do you have to wait until
Le size.
the courgette gets to a certain size before harvesting? Is
You
it
do. The longer you can actually leave it on the plant, the better.
Le plus longtemps que t'attends, le mieux. C'est
And just make sure to bring it in before the frost, before it gets cold.
qu'il faut attendre la fin du gel pour.
Okay, so now we have the water back. And if some of you want to maybe try and get in there, this one didn't get pollinated very well.
Celles-ci n'ont pas été bien pollinisées.
You can tell because
Celle-là, là.
there's not many seeds in here.
On peut voir parce qu'il n'y a pas beaucoup de graines dedans.
Now this is the great thing about using water.
Donc ça, c'est la chose qui est bien quand on utilise l'eau.
And you can only kind of use it for pumpkins and squashes and
On peut seulement
Courgettes.
utiliser ça pour les potirons, les potimarrons, les courgettes, les concombres.
but what is great about it is that all the seeds that are good
Mais ce qui est bien, c'est que toutes les graines sont bonnes.
will actually
No.
fall to the bottom.
Toutes les graines sont bonnes.
Toutes les graines qui sont bonnes, elles tombent au fond.
Okay? So look, you can see the bad ones all swimming at the top,
Et les mauvaises, on les voit flotter à la surface.
and all the good ones are all down here.
Et toutes les bonnes sont là, en bas.
So we need to separate them from the flesh though as well,
Donc
so
on
that
a
they
besoin
do
de les séparer de la chair. Du fruit.
You wanna try? Anybody want to get their hands? It's such a hot day anyway. It's a nice way to cool your hands. So you do this with pumpkins, courgettes, and squashes. This method.
Melon?
Melon would be more like cucumber. I'll show you that now in a minute. It's actually very, very similar.
Les melons seraient plus comme les concombres. Ah, je me suis trompée, je vous ai dit qu'il y avait les concombres tout à l'heure.
In fact, this is the first step of what you would do with both tomato and cucumber and melon. But in this case, you don't leave it in the water for a long time. You'll see now in a minute. Now, often there's a tool for everything. So you have these special spoons where you can just siphon things off. But because we are like...
Donc pour chaque pêche, il y a un outil. Donc voilà l'outil pour enlever tout ce qui flotte.
But because we don't have one of those, we're going to use one of these.
Donc il existe un instrument fait pour, mais on va utiliser le gobelet.
So it all works, so you just have to use whatever you got.
Donc on utilise ce qu'on a.
So you can see all the little baby seeds. There's even one good one in there, so we'll just take that one out. So you can actually just siphon it all off by just going like that. And if there is a few good seeds in there, you can always just take them out.
Donc on regarde avec ce qu'on a enlevé s'il n'y a pas des bonnes graines à prendre.
And then you just throw it into a bowl, which we have here.
Donc on va jeter dans un bol.
And you can still take out any good seeds. There's one that kind of got away.
Et voir s'il n'y a pas des bonnes graines, on vérifie.
And you can also use your hands.
On peut aussi bien faire avec les mains.
So you can just kind of go like that. And we have a saying, many hands make light work. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have a lot of hands. So get in there.
C'est chaud.
Oui, c'est tiède. C'est pas...
Tiède.
Put your hand in
Mais
and
c'est l'eau
take
qui était
out.
tiède.
See how quick it's going all of a sudden?
Vous voyez comment on va vite à plusieurs.
And in this case, more water would be more helpful as well, wouldn't it?
Et il aurait été mieux de mettre plus d'eau.
So throw us a bit more water.
Donc on va mettre un peu d'eau.
If you can give us more water. Because the more water we have, the more it separates the two layers of bad and good.
Donc plus il y a d'eau, plus on peut distinguer les niveaux.
There we go now. And this also washes the seeds, so you can now
Et en
kind
même
of
temps, on lave les graines.
you can now kind of just try to swirl them around a bit, and then you just wait.
Et après, il faut attendre.
And the good ones will float down to the bottom,
Et celles qui sont bonnes vont
and the
tomber.
bad ones are staying up. So there's obviously a bad one there.
Celles qui flottent, on les enlève encore.
Well, if they no, sometimes they do take a bit of time too, but this one definitely is no good.
Ça peut prendre du temps.
Okay, you see now? And we just take off the last bit. And sometimes the easiest way of doing that is just grabbing the whole thing.
Vraiment, elle se met tout seul avec la pointe en l'air.
Like that. And as you stand back, see there's some bad seeds going on now, they're big, but they're on top.
Il y en a des
They're not the good ones at the
mauvaises
bottom.
graines qui vont... You don't be surprised if next year they are...
Yeah, lots of courgettes growing. But this is generally the way how you get rid of most of the bad stuff. And if you do get rid of 2 or 3 good ones that way, it's okay.
Ouais, d'habitude c'est la manière qu'on fait.
Have we got more water?
Si on a une ou deux bonnes qui s'en va, c'est pas grave.
Now what you could do is you could do that all again, one more time to really, really clean them.
On peut refaire ça encore une fois pour vraiment les nettoyer.
But I think we get the idea. And
Sinon, j'ai une idée.
So we just need a sieve now, and just go like that. And there's our seed.
Voilà, nos graines.
Voila.
Voilà.
Hey! And clean there as well, huh? So both cucumber and tomatoes
Les concombres et les tomates sont concernés
have
par cette
a
méthode.
germination inhibitor on the seed.
Donc, sur les graines de tomates et de concombre, il y a une molécule qui empêche la germination.
And it's like the gel that's on the seed.
C'est une espèce de gel qui est collé à la graine.
And under natural circumstances, this cucumber or tomato would rot.
Et si dans la nature il y avait un concombre comme celle-ci, en fait elle commencerait à pourrir et la graine serait...
And it would just ferment naturally, and that's how the inhibitor would actually be taken off.
Donc il y aura une fermentation qui se passe naturellement et on va très le gel.
Now we...
Okay.
Yeah, you're good. I think I'm just going to use a tomato because we just did a marrow which is quite similar to cucumber.
Donc je vais vous montrer plutôt une tomate parce qu'on a déjà fait la
Which
courgette
means,
qui
I'll be back in 1 second. Now with the tomato, what we're going to do is we're going to have to leave it in water for some time.
Donc, mais avec les tomates, il faut les laisser assez longtemps dans l'eau.
Is actually a good... No, but this is good.
Oui, c'est la méthode.
Okay. Now I've just been given 3 different varieties of tomatoes.
Donc voilà 3 variétés différentes de tomates.
Now obviously we want to keep those varieties separate.
Donc il faut les garder séparées,
So,
ces variétés.
normally then we would have 3 jars with water in them.
Donc ça ferait 3 bocals avec de l'eau.
But in this example I'm just going to use the biggest one.
Je prends la plus grande.
We're going to get the seeds out, so I'm just going to quickly do that.
Donc on va chercher les graines à l'intérieur.
And the seeds will be in, you can see them there.
Autour des graines.
You know, so that's what we're talking about. And then the next step is, and with this tomato is really easy. You just kind of go like,
Avec celle-ci c'est très facile.
you just squeeze it in,
D'appuyer.
and you get mainly the actual seeds to go in. You can also take out the center a bit,
Donc on peut enlever
make life a bit easier.
le pulpe et il y aura beaucoup
We're
de
trying to
graines qui
get
sortent.
all the seeds in there,
On met toutes les graines.
because each one could become a new plant, which
Parce
is
que
great.
chaque graine pourrait faire une nouvelle plante.
And remember now, I'm only using 1 tomato of this variety, but generally speaking, I should have at least 6 or 7 of these tomatoes of this species of the same variety.
Donc quand je vais prendre mes graines, je vais prendre au moins 6 tomates de la même variété, peut-être pas de la même plante, mais de la même variété.
Okay, and so we have that. Now you can see most of the seeds are falling down to the bottom, which indicates that they're good seeds.
Donc la plupart des graines sont au fond, ça veut dire que c'est des bonnes graines.
Generally speaking, this is enough. This is actually too much water. We want to have less water.
Donc
So
il faut un peu moins d'eau.
just pour out a bit. And it's just about 50-50.
Là c'est assez d'eau, 50% de graines, 50% d'eau.
And then all I have to do is put on the lid,
On referme.
and now I have to put it somewhere where it's nice and warm. So on top of that radiator over here, so that's what I'm going to do.
Donc on va mettre dans un endroit
I'm going to put it over here on this radiator, and it's
assez chaud,
the
même sous
biggest
radiateur.
radiator I've ever seen. It's massive. It'll work. And what happens now is the heat will help the fermentation process. It's actually bacteria that will start gobbling up all that kind of jam.
Donc la chaleur va accélérer le processus de fermentation.
So now in 3 days time, well it depends actually, it can be 1 day, depending on the fermentation speed, or maybe 3 or maybe a week.
Donc il faut compter de 1-3 jours jusqu'à une semaine.
This also depends on the heat.
Ça dépend de la température.
Before it will be ready, and the way you know it's ready
On saura que c'est prêt.
is it'll have this kind of like moldy, gunky, horrible thing on top,
Quand c'est moisi, un peu dégueulasse.
and it'll smell bad.
Et ça sent pas bon.
And then what you do is, it's very easy, you just put the seeds on top of your some newspaper.
Donc à ce moment-là, on enlève les graines, on les met sur du papier journal.
And then you can just peel them. After a while, they become really, really dry because also the paper helps to dry them out.
Donc une fois que c'est sec, à l'aide du papier journal, on pourrait enlever les graines une à une.
And then you can just store them in a dry container.
Et on peut mettre dans un endroit sec, dans un...
Now I wanted to show you how it actually goes on from the tomatoes, from the fermentation. And we have here also some cucumbers which are prepared in the meantime. You can actually see the bacteria have done their work really well. There was actually a very, very thick coating around these cucumber seeds. And also another quick note as well before we move on to the tomatoes is that these actually tend to float to the top. And what I do is I leave the lid a little bit open so that the gas can evaporate, but I also then close it and shake it about a bit. Otherwise they don't really get, they don't sink down into the water and ferment properly. So that's one thing I do. Now the next thing is, I'll show you as an example how to actually do these tomato seeds. And you can see this kind of moldy stuff on the top. That's totally normal. It's a bit smelly, a bit gunky, but it's actually really, really easy to clean. I'll just show you. You get your sieve like this. Make sure it's a kind of a very fine meshed one, like there, which is less than 1 millimeter in diameter. And it does smell a little bit, and that's quite normal. It's not as bad as some of them. And then what you do is, you don't need a fancy thing like this, but the idea is just to really wash them well and try to get off the coating. And actually what I should have done is, if there was any kind of coating on the top before shaking, I should have maybe taken that off, because now at the moment it's in here, but that's no big deal. We can actually just separate it by hand, just take it out. You can see just a bit of fungi there on the top. I'm going to just take that out and then just carry on washing. And you can see how lovely they're actually cleaning up. And then all we really have to do, what I like to do, I like to bang them together a bit like this. And you can see it makes a little ball like that, and then I like to go around the whole area, and that kind of makes the seed all stick together. And then eventually all we need is a sheet of newspaper and just bang it on top, and there's our seeds. Nothing left in the sieve. All the seeds are here, and you can really see how pretty much all the coating is gone off it. And all you got to do now is just spread them out nice and gently, nice and thinly. You take out any kind of bits and pieces that look like bits of fungi or old flesh. The main thing is to spread them out for drying. And that's really all there is to it with the tomatoes. I'll just move on quickly. I'll finish that later, you get the idea anyway. And I want to move on quickly to the actual cucumbers as well. And again, it's the same thing. What you do, now I actually shook them already so there wouldn't be actually any kind of fungi thing on it. Just pour them in. Give them a nice wash. And when you're washing them, it really kind of, takes that coating off again. And the coating goes through the sieve, but the seeds obviously are too big and they just stay behind. And you get this nice, lovely, clean seeds. Just like that. And now, there's a lot of kind of bits of cucumber still in there, so I'm going to have to go through that by hand, which shouldn't take too long. I could also just kind of turn it around the sieve a bit and try to wash it out that way. Kind of wash it through the sieve. That kind of works. But the main thing is to separate the bad stuff from the stuff you want to keep, which is the seeds. And if you're not, if you're not selling them or giving them away to people, you can, of course, if you're just using them for next year, you can just, of course, not bother trying to clean them up, so nicely. And then just dry them as well. Now, before I forget, there's two more things that I actually wanted to say as well. Two more last things, and that is, first of all, if you leave it in there for longer than a week, seeds can actually start sprouting. These guys here are fine. They were in there for about a week, but anything longer than that, and they might or they may sprout. So just be careful with that. If you don't want to go through the whole kind of fermentation process, you can, of course, save them. Just by spreading them out, and the paper tends to actually get rid of it in some ways as well. It kind of almost soaks it up, but the thing is they become very, very sticky and hard to come off. They're hard to kind of peel off, and you have to just very gently peel each one off. You can get under there with your hand as well and just try and kind of break them up without damaging the seed. So that's another way. Now, it's also important to say that, of course, you label them. We have two different varieties of tomatoes here, for instance, and that you also use some kind of suitable container as well for actually putting them in. So I'm going to put my yellow pear, red pear tomato in this container here. I have a variety of black of Tulla here, which I'm going to just put into one of these containers. And what you'll soon notice, if they're not dry enough, you'll soon notice kind of condensation building up inside a jar. So actually a jar is a very good way of storing them. You can always just leave it open at the beginning a little bit and then close it properly when the winter's coming or something like that. Now that's pretty much it. I hope you again enjoyed this video, and yeah, thanks for watching.